God, I was born in the wrong generation. I should have been a teen in the 80s when the apocalyptic threat was bombs, not some shitty-ass virus. Hello, I'm Barbie Wire, and I want to make this video because we're all kind of freaking out. I've been taking this time to think about the end of the world because I'm punk, and I've only ever wanted to burn shit down. But I wanted to be the one to do it, not some microscopic bitch-ass germ. I'm not entirely sure what to say, but I feel troubled. And if academia has taught me anything, is that when something troubles me, I should trouble it right the fuck back. So, pop in your favorite drug, snuggle up, sit back, and watch the pretty colors as the world burns. As I hopefully reach some conclusion by exploring what it means to be gay during the apocalypse, and hopefully reach some sort of conclusion or something that makes me feel better, smarter, and able to deal with the inevitable anxiety attacks that will plague me in the night. A quick special thank you to Biodegradable for editing this video. He's genuinely amazing. You guys, please go follow him. His Twitter will be in the description below. And fucking book this man. I swear to God, look at this editing. There's certainly something to be said about this time right now. The Ides of March 2020. There's a feeling in the air of uneasiness, uncertainty. Where are things gonna go from here? Things are never gonna be the same. Our entire world is going to change, and that's gonna involve a lot of pain and suffering. This doesn't really bother me though because I'm trans, and that's literally what the process of coming to terms with being trans is like. To quote my goth goddess NyxFear, I worship you and your Texas witchiness. Please message me back. I'm obsessed with you.
Everything is scary in life, especially for trans people. It's scary to live, it's scary to die, it's scary to transition, it's scary to not transition.
That is from an amazing video by Sarah of Let's Talk About Stuff, a fellow YouTube lady of the transition, called A Video About Transitioning. Go watch if you want to be trans and also realize that you're never going to create something as artistically fulfilling as that, you cow. This sentiment about how queerness can feel like the end of the world resonates with me and most other queer folk because it honestly did feel like the end of our world. But fate would have it that life typically gets way better after this phase. But before we talk about that, let's talk about some severely underappreciated goddesses of my life. Rook and Dizzy from the quintessential, life-changing, and personality-forming band, Black Dresses. Black Dresses somehow finds a way to find not only beauty and ugliness and crunchiness and resolution in the suffering caused by this uncertainty about the future, life, your place in the world, and also there's a sense of, let's fucking party, bitch, we're all gonna die. It severely makes me want to dance in a desert naked with all my best friends as we await the bombs to drop. It's apocalyptic. It's fun. It's so incredibly cool. Please talk to me, I love you both so much! I made a video called lip syncing to my favorite band's entire discography to prove I'm their #1 fan, and it was like 2 hours long, and I did it. Don't look at it, it's bad. So that's already one weird conclusion. Can the apocalypse be something that's fun? Can I still go to the orgy right now? Or is that too socially irresponsible? The answer is yes, but since when have I ever been a goddamn responsible person? I say, do whatever the fuck you want and be happy while using your critical thinking, if you can muster that. If not, just ask your gender fluid friend for advice. If you don't have a gender fluid friend, find a Libra. Perhaps I feel so distant from this whole end of the world thing, because it's pretty easy for me to feel disassociated from the mainstream. All around me are familiar faces. But why is this so easy? Should I feel bad for this? Of course I'm able to empathize and care about other people's sufferings right now, but sometimes it's just so overwhelming I just have to get drunk. Pride Month. The economy is failing. Everyone's jobless, including me. Hey, how are you, Gorge? There's no toilet paper on Walmart, but at least I can trust our reliable, democratically elected governments to provide swift action, direction, and relief for the American people.
The United States Senate is still not able to come to a bipartisan consensus for a third stimulus bill.
Gross. Then Democrats rejected a relief bill? Why?
And right now, Republicans say that Democrats are adding irrelevant spending into this bill, where Democrats are saying that the Republicans are not protecting hourly wage workers and workers in general enough.
You cannot just write a bill that protects corporations and corporate CEOs, but not workers and families who are on the brink.
Because Republicans want to bail out corporations and shit first. That's not it, babes. Do better. The government has been strangely secretive about this whole thing, right? Like, why aren't they being more transparent about the direction they're taking? It's definitely not because this is all a giant conspiracy for Trump to get reelected this fall. Maybe why I find such comfort and home in the idea of the apocalypse is because I'm obsessed with the idea of the apocalypse. Idea of burning the world down and dancing in a desert on ayahuasca while a bomb is approaching is fun. But right now, in the reality of everything, it doesn't feel like so much fun. Well, the LGBT community has always been a source of guidance for me. Let's look there because gays are the only ones I trust. What's mama lesbian Contra got to say about the apocalypse?
Imagine that this is the Earth.
Let's skip ahead a bit.
Calling it the apocalypse is literally just another form of denialism, because we still have a little bit of time to fix the problem. Please, God, please, just try to focus on solving the problem while we still have time. The world is not ending. It's just getting shittier.
But Mom... Whatever, Contrapoint is cancelled. I don't trust anyone who would viciously attack an innocent melon without at least licking up the juices. Maybe she has a point though. Even though that video is in reference to global warming, I think the same logic could be applied. Some of us are acting like it's literally over, but I guess we could still stretch the curve, so to say. God, I could use a good curve stretching right about now. But the problem is, I'm an extrovert and bored and hate my roommates and myself. I need other people to validate me and tell me I exist, goddammit. I'm desperate for any validation or reality that makes me feel okay right now, and also not bored out of my mind. What are the gays on Twitter doing? Oh, they're making memes. And porn. Good for them. Love that for them. The young chickens are doing that, but the older ones are freaking the fuck out, which makes sense considering this virus mostly impacts older people. Oh. Whoops. That's spooky, Chief. In my opinion, I honestly think it's because, like, we've been through this before. A pandemic, I mean. A pandemic with a shitty government who's acting like nothing's happening. And that shit's scary. Yeah, that's right, babes. I'm talking about the AIDS epidemic of the 80s, which was a terrifying time, and I won't get into any more in this video because I'm already upset enough about everything without throwing Rent into the mixture. Maybe that also explains why younger gays aren't as worried too, because they sort of understand pandemics as something that can be overcome. That's certainly, honestly, kind of how I feel. But alas, I am a boomer zoomer, and I empathize with both responses. There's honestly not one correct kind of response either. Let's talk about the future. All this talk about what's happening right now is exhausting. And honestly, constantly changing. This video is going to be outdated within minutes after it's uploaded, I'm sure. That's going to be the rest of this video. I've ensnared you. Let's talk about the end of the world, ladies and germs. I've been chastised for being a bimbo. Like, honestly, bimbo energy is so powerful, so 2020, I'm literally dead. And I think it stems from being so woke that you just want to go back to sleep. I was and am a proud Duchess of the SJW Court. I've organized marches, I've led and participated in campaigns, I attended church. 2 truths and a lie. But honestly, after a while, the community and constantly surrounding yourself with bad news gets emotionally and physically draining. I went from being 22 since I was 15 to actually being 22. And I'm only 13. So thus, I've adopted a persona of sorts. A new way that I navigate the world that makes me happy. It's fun. It's stupid. But it's also cutting and slightly twinged with an edge. Bimbo energy. I've noticed this among other queer folks too. I'm not the only asshole in the world right now. To most, we just seem exactly like that. Just bimbos. Or himbos or thembos because we're inclusive. But to the trained eye, we're recognized for exactly what we are. Formative, intelligent folk who don't give enough of a fuck to spend our energy or time on anything we don't want to. I'm just being myself, Gorge. And that's interesting, that we can exist without being seen in the mainstream. In the wise words of Black Dresses, dead bitches recognize each other. There's this paper I read once by a queer theorist named Tim Dean. He describes a phenomenon he calls bareback time, which essentially means that uncertainty about the epidemic of AIDS transmission and how long a queer person was going to live who had HIV or AIDS meant that there's a different way those with or likely to be exposed to HIV or AIDS experience time differently than straight people. Essentially, in a live fast, die young, have a good time sort of vibe. And there's a lot of talk about how queer folk experience time differently from you cisheads. Halberstam wrote a book called Queer Temporalities and Postmodern Geographies. Halberstam basically says that there's the mainstream heterocentric timeline of birth, childhood, college, job, married, kids, death. Rinse, repeat. But queer folk oftentimes weren't or aren't able to experience this timeline in that way. Going to college is difficult for a lot of queer folk because of lack of financial support from their family. More often than not, queer people aren't having biological children, and only relatively recently have we been able to get married. And for trans people, childhood isn't even really a thing because a lot of them would rather forget the memories associated with their pre-transition, unless, like me, you're unbothered. In which case, hey babe, welcome to the club. Let's be nice, though, because there's a lot of people that don't feel this way. Okay, cool. Be cool. Be fucking cool. So in that way, there's really no such thing as a universal experience of time. Queer people experience time differently. Lots of different people experience time differently. It changes and is different for queer folk and tons of other marginalized communities, but I'm a fair creature of Caucasia, so I'm going to carefully stay on my moped firmly in my lane. And I think that's all being kind of fucked up by this virus, y'all. People are being forced or encouraged to stay inside and think about what they've done and to wait it out. I think this could potentially be a kind of reset or a reevaluation of our priorities as humans living in a capitalist society. We're all on the same yacht here. And I think that this pandemic is giving people the time to actually see and disagree with the government and to evaluate what's valuable to them, what gives them purpose. I think that it's possible that we'll all be a little fucking kinder after this is over. Unless this does turn out to be a full-on contagion scenario. That's scary. If the world does, then that would suck. Because then I wouldn't have stuff. Or friends. It would just be one sissy, her TikTok, Tumblr, and her vibrator against the world. If things literally go to shit, and the government shuts down, and we're left to our own devices, my advice would be to hunker down, get a group of people, and go fetch your Postmates or whatever. If the government does shut down, then that means the government shut down. Alright, okay, you know what? I'll throw you a bone, you anarcho-socio-communists. socialists, whatever. You've been talking so much about hierarchies and production and shit. Let's see what you've got. It's pretty clear at this point that the great United States experiment is definitely a failure. So this could be an opportunity to rebuild a society that actually follows a code of ethics and follow those ideals I never cared enough about to read, but was punk enough to say hell yeah to at parties. I mean, who hasn't said hell yeah to like an anarchist punk because you want to suck his dick? I mean, honestly, who knows? Maybe the government will actually be a little more aware of why we need social welfare programs, and the majority of the populace will feel just enough of a burn to support them. Probably not, but we could hope. The world is certainly in a very liminal space right now. We're neither pandemic-free nor vaccine abundant. That sort of reminds me of Gloria Anzeldua's idea of Borderlands. So Gloria Anzeldua was this Mexican-American feminist poet artist. She has a lot of really cool work about like the feminine figure in nature, and like if you look up some of her like art, like you'll see like guys fucking skeletons and stuff. Anyway, love her, studied her a lot, she's lovely. She wrote a book called Borderlands about growing up between the Texas-United States border. She talks about how growing up in this culture meant that she was neither fully integrated into either culture or society. Her community was a conglomeration of both Texas and Mexican culture, but within that they were also completely different from anywhere else in the world. I think that can be a way for me to understand this nonsense right now. Being uncertain is super fucking scary, Gorge. But Gloria said she's found pride and hope and identity in her Borderlands. And maybe we can do the same. If we just try to be a little kinder and a little more mindful about the ways we are all connected with each other and a little more concerned for our fellow human beings, maybe we could get some good out of this. Probably not, though. Hello all! Massive thanks again to Biodegradable for editing this video. Even though he's an Aussie, he's continued to be a pleasure to work with and a wonderful person. Go book him! His Twitter link is down below. Support your freelancers. Make some goddamn YouTube videos. Support this man. Support small businesses. I've decided to make a Patreon, so please go check that out. This is my first video of its kind, and I'd like to dedicate some more time to YouTube and be able to make more content like this, since we're, you know, quarantina. And that would be the best way to support this. Otherwise, go follow my fucking Twitter and Instagram and shit. Those links will be down below as well. Leave a comment and let me know what you thought of this video. Unless you didn't like it. Then eat shit and die, Gorge. And also any ideas you might have for me in the future for what kind of videos you'd like for me to make and topics to explore. Until then, stay safe, wash your hands, and use some fucking lotion because you're gonna rub your skin off if you keep doing it like that. Okay, I think that's the content I have.